So speed and accuracy are some of those skills that, as violinists, we always have in the back of our heads. We're always trying to develop quicker reflexes, decrease the reaction time of our fingers, and play with that pinpoint perfect intonation. But as you start working on developing those skills, you might quickly find that it's not as straightforward as you once thought. Because sure, you can practice for hours using your metronome and slowly increasing the tempo little by little, but you'll quickly find that there's a threshold that you just cannot get over. And that's because you have not developed your finger endurance. What I mean by this is that surely you can move your fingers quickly once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times, but you cannot do it consistently over an entire page or multiple pages of your pieces or your studies. And so today I would like to give you some very useful techniques that will help you finally overcome that obstacle. Now, for those of you who are new, my name is Gabriel. I'm the founder of Toaldo Violin School based in Tokyo, Japan, where for more than 7 years I've been helping and teaching violinists of all ages and all levels master the violin technique and become the best violinists they can be. And now you can also learn from our experience by subscribing to my channel, and you can also get the opportunity to work with me directly if you follow us on school. So you can go ahead and click the link in the description down below. Now, in the past, I used to be stuck trying to practice my violin for hours on end without having any clear goal, a clear structure, or any objective to move towards. And I would just end up playing around the same parts over and over again without making any progress, ultimately wasting years of my life. And for me, this was an absolutely agonizing experience, and it left me nothing but confused and overwhelmed. I had no clear path to reach my musical goals, and I felt like I was walking in circles with no clear way out. And on top of that, I was also riddled with physical pain from years and years of bad posture while playing, which resulted in me not being able to play the pieces I love despite practicing for hours on end. Just absolutely full of self-doubt and frustration. But then I realized the importance of having a solid, reliable structure, and so inspired by that, I started developing a system that would help me solidify my technique, strengthen my playing, and my confidence in my instrument in a way that's reliable, efficient, and that allows me to take control over the progress that I want to make with my violin. And all of this led me to create my own violin school in Tokyo, Japan, where I've been helping violinists of all ages and all levels for over 7 years become the best violinists they can be. And now I find great fulfillment not only in my playing but in my teaching as well. And I'm free from the burden of playing with physical pain from bad posture, which means that I'm also mentally free to play what I enjoy and enjoy what I play. If you'd like to know more about how I did it and how you can do it too, then comment yes down below and I will share this system with you personally. See you there. So when we're talking about speed and accuracy, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, one of the main problems that many of us face is that you can move your fingers quickly, just not for as long as the piece requires. And so in order to solve that, I'll give you some very useful tips, and I'll actually start by sharing with you a very important lesson that I once received from my teacher. He actually used to say very often, if you have an even passage, you have to work on it unevenly. And what he meant by this is that if you have a passage in your concerto, in your piece, or whichever etude you might be working on, where the rhythm is relatively the same throughout, for example, if it's comprised of only 8th notes or 16th notes or anything else, then in order to develop the speed and accuracy of that phrase, of that passage, you have to work on it with uneven and asymmetrical rhythms. And so right now I'll share with you that entire cycle of rhythms that I use every time I have a passage of that kind, and that always helps me to continue developing my speed and accuracy. And we're actually going to go ahead and use Kreutzer Etude number 9 for this, which is actually quite infamous for requiring a very high degree of finger articulation, accuracy, and speed. And so the first thing we're going to do is actually getting rid of that original bowing you have in the score. The slur usually goes over a couple of bars, but we're going to get rid of that completely and just work 4 notes per bow initially. And we're also going to change the rhythm entirely by alternating the length of every other note. So we'll have 1 long one, 1 short one, 1 long one, and 1 short one. Now, a couple of important points to keep in mind is that we're going to be working mostly 4 notes per bow, using the whole bow with full sound and full contact all the time at a slower tempo. Now, the reason why we want to do it at a slower tempo is because we actually want to be able to exaggerate the contrast between the quick notes and the slow notes. Because generally there's always going to be a tendency to kind of soften that contrast, and so things tend to get a little bit more floppy and mushy towards the middle. So it goes from something like this to something like this. And so we actually want to stay as far away as possible from that kind of floppy rhythm so that we can actually develop the speed of the different parts of the left hand. If you start falling again into that floppy rhythm, it completely defeats the purpose of this exercise. So make sure that you remember to really exaggerate the contrast of the length of the notes as much as you can and keep playing at a slow tempo with full sound and full bow. And so that's going to sound something like this. And now after you've done this, we're actually going to go ahead and reverse that rhythm. So before we did long, short, and now we'll do short, long, short, long. And now for the next section, we're actually going to change that a little bit by actually changing the length of 2 notes at a time. So now this time we'll do long, long, short, short, which is going to sound something like this. And then, of course, it goes without saying that we also have to do the opposite. And now only by doing this, already in terms of speed and accuracy, your hand will be in a much better position than before. But we can still take it one step further. So now we're actually going to change the length of 4 notes at a time. So we'll have a group of 4 long notes and a group of 4 quick notes, which is going to sound a little bit something like this. And then, of course, it goes without saying, we're also going to reverse this rhythm, but it's important to keep in mind all the notes that I mentioned at the beginning, such as being very sure that you're actually exaggerating the contrast between the length of the notes as much as you can. And so once you've gone through this cycle of rhythms, you'll find that your left hand is in a complete other level. You'll have quicker reflexes, quicker reaction times, and even in terms of endurance, you'll find that it's a lot livelier and more energetic all the way throughout. So that's only doing it once. Imagine if you do it every day. So this is a very important tip that has helped me throughout my entire career as a violinist, and the brilliant thing is that it not only applies to Kreutzer, but it basically applies to any piece, any concerto, any other part of your repertoire that you're working on. And so go ahead and give that a try, let me know in the comments how it goes, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And don't forget to also follow me on my community on School by clicking the link in the description down below. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you next time.